Good morning. My name is Saul, and I'm a member here at Grace Church. And this morning, I'd like to share with you the story of God's grace in my life. My parents are immigrants to the U.S. from Honduras, and I'm a Miami boy born and raised in Dade. We grew up in lower-class neighborhoods where drugs, violence, and sex were a staple of the block. And my parents didn't and still don't speak English. So they found jobs that barely made ends meet. Everything we had to work for. Nothing was inherited. And that concept was drilled into my young brain. And this is important because what I didn't know then as a boy is that it was all spiritually shaping me. I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up. I wanted to have a good profession where I would make good money. So I worked at it, and I did well in school. I didn't do drugs, and I didn't have sex despite my environment. I worked at avoiding that, and I did well. My parents were Christians, so we grew up going to church, and I eventually involved myself in youth group. I worked at my Christianity, and I did well. I graduated with a full-paid tuition scholarship to a private vocational university. I did well. But I was disturbed. All I had known was to work hard and get a reward. But something about that seemed off when I thought of God. By works of the law, no human being will be justified in his sight, Romans 3:20. I was afraid to ask him if I was doing well, because I was deathly afraid of his answer. So I muted that question, and I kept working at doing my best. It was in my first years of college that I got hit with a wave of loneliness. I felt busy, but somehow unproductive and hollow. One thing I immediately knew is that I had to face the question I had been avoiding. I claimed to be a Christian, and I knew that Jesus, like most people, know about Michael Jordan. Not personally, just knew about him. I could tell you facts about him like he's better than LeBron. I digress. I picked up a MacArthur study Bible that my friend would carry around, and I started to read about certain doctrines in the appendix that I didn't agree with. But in my mental dialogue against these doctrines, I couldn't defend my own stance. I didn't know God biblically. I had no supporting verses for what I believed just because I had heard it. I started to read the Bible in context, expositionally, chapter by chapter, verse by verse. And I felt as though I was reading many familiar passages for the first time, the 100th time. The Word of God pierced me. Matthew 7 in particular rocked me when Jesus spoke to those who were self-deceived. "Depart from me. I never knew you." Like the Pharisee, I didn't realize I was. I too perceived that God had been talking about me. Have I done well, God? I've worked hard. Am I acceptable? His big reply was no. As I read the gospel, I understood the need for Jesus. I had to break my inward programming that said I needed to work if I was going to have. That's not salvation. Jesus paid it all. He imputed righteousness to me, and that was grace. By faith, not by works. Ephesians 2. We can't work hard enough to earn what could never be earned. The saving work of Jesus is perfect and complete. There's nothing I can add to it by works, and nothing I could take away from it by my sin. So this morning I do as Jesus commanded the demoniac that he healed. Go home to your friends and tell how much the Lord has done for you and how he has had mercy on you. Soli Deo Gloria. To God alone be the glory.